using log management for investigation. So once again, to the point of we're all going to be breached at some point, I want to be able to go back and understand where the breach came from. Hopefully I've used the detection capabilities to stop the bleeding and make sure that the breach wasn't too painful, but I still want to go back and look at how someone was able to get into my environment. What attack vectors did they use? Was it using a use of social engineering? Was it a misconfiguration on my system? So event logs are really the most critical fingerprints within the organization that I can use to understand what happened within a breach. And if I have to look across thousands and thousands of logs, I'm not going to be able to do that. But through a bunch of index searches, I can find pieces and things that are interesting inside of this massive amount of data. We can determine things like which systems or applications were compromised. So one of the interesting things is a lot of time people find out they're breached because a customer or a business partner actually calls them and says, listen, something weird just happened in the way we do business with you, and that causes you to go back and investigate. So a lot of times when organizations find out that they've been breached, they don't know at that point in time what the severity of the breach was. So a log management system can be hugely helpful in understanding the severity and the effect of the breach. It can also be used to figure out how you were breached, why you were breached, and what you can do to prevent it from happening in the future. So as I talked about before, there's really a maturation model that occurs. And we see log management as the tip of the spear, if you will. From a cost perspective, it's not very costly to acquire, it's not very costly to deploy, and you're able to get return on that investment very quickly. As you become more sophisticated and evolve up the stack, the next step up from that is security monitoring or remediation. The ability not only to analyze logs, but actually process event data in real time. Understand when I'm under attack and react to it in real time. Understand when there's a compliance violation and react to it in real time. This is the next level of sophistication up, if you will, from log management. It's a little bit more costly. It's a little bit more integration work to make it work, but the benefits are greater. And really, as I said before, the highest state of Zen, if you will, is user activity monitoring. And user activity monitoring is when we combine the identity data we may get from an identity system, understanding who a person is, understanding asset information, what the systems are, and bringing them together to get really relevant information about what's going on inside of my network. So no longer is it this IP address went to that IP address, it's Michael went to SAP. And now when I decide that I know that Michael went to SAP, I can look and determine whether he should be doing that, whether that's a violation of policy, whether that's a violation of compliance. I can do all that because I now understand context. And when I'm just looking at IP addresses, I don't understand context. The other great thing about understanding context is now I can start to try to look at user intent. I can also try to look at baselining of user activity and behavior and when it suddenly changes or becomes anomalous. So each one of these levels greater increases my capability to understand what's going on inside of my network, and therefore as a result of that, more rapidly identify a breach and potentially more rapidly stop the bleeding, stop the pain associated with it.